Imagine moving into a new apartment, the kind with fresh paint and that new home smell. You're excited, unpacking boxes, planning where your couch will go. But then, as the sun sets and the city lights flicker on, you hear it. A soft, chilling whisper, floating from the shadows of an empty room, and it's saying your name. This isn't a movie. This is the true story of an apartment that seems to know its occupant, an apartment that shouldn't exist. Our story begins with Alex, a young graphic designer looking for a fresh start in a bustling city. After weeks of searching, Alex found the perfect place, apartment 14B. It was a bit old, but it had character, high ceilings, and a great view. The rent was surprisingly affordable, almost too good to be true. The landlord, a quiet, evasive man, handed over the keys with a strange warning. The walls have ears. Alex laughed it off, thinking it was just an old-fashioned saying. The first few days were perfectly normal. Alex unpacked, decorated, and settled into a new routine. The apartment felt like home, but that feeling of comfort didn't last. It started with small things, a faint scratching sound from inside the walls at night. Alex dismissed it as mice or old pipes. Then objects began to move. A coffee mug left on the kitchen counter would be found on the bookshelf in the living room. Keys, always placed in a bowl by the door, would turn up in the freezer. Alex started to feel a constant, prickling sensation of being watched, even when completely alone. The air grew heavy, and a cold spot seemed to follow Alex from room to room. It was easy to rationalize at first. Stress, exhaustion, a new environment playing tricks on the mind. But one evening, while working late on a project, the rationalizations fell apart. A clear, distinct whisper slithered out from the dark hallway. It was just one word. Alex's name. Alex froze, heart pounding. It couldn't be. The windows were closed. The neighbors were quiet. "Hello," Alex called out, voice trembling. Only silence answered. Shaken, Alex tried to get back to work, but the focus was gone. Was this what the landlord meant? Were these the ears in the walls? Comment below if you've ever experienced something you just couldn't explain in your own home. The whispers became a nightly occurrence. Sometimes they were just a soft breath, other times a clear, articulate call. They always came when Alex was alone, and always from a different part of the apartment. One night, the whisper said, "Tired." Alex had just yawned. The next evening, as Alex reached for a glass of water, the whisper said, "Thirsty." It was as if the apartment wasn't just watching. It was reading Alex's thoughts. Paranoia began to set in. Alex started documenting everything, taking pictures of where objects were left, recording the silence of the apartment, hoping to catch the whispers on tape, but the recordings were always empty. The photos showed nothing out of place, even when Alex was certain something had moved. It was a personal haunting, one that left no evidence for the outside world. Alex's blood ran cold. Who were these people? What happened to them? The note felt like a desperate warning from the past. The whispers grew more frequent, more specific. They started predicting small things. The phone will ring, the voice would whisper, and moments later, "Someone's at the door," it would say, just before a delivery person knocked. It felt less like a haunting and more like a twisted game. If you're enjoying these dark mysteries, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because we post new ones every single day. Driven by a mix of terror and a desperate need for answers, Alex started researching the building's history. Old city records, newspaper archives, anything that could offer a clue. It was a difficult search. The building was old and many records were lost or incomplete. But Alex eventually found a series of articles from decades ago detailing a string of mysterious disappearances, all centered on one building, on one specific floor. Apartment 14B. Person after person had moved in, only to vanish without a trace weeks or months later. The police were always baffled. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. It was as if they had simply ceased to exist. The landlord's strange behavior suddenly made sense. He wasn't just evasive. He was knowingly renting out a place where people disappeared. That night, the apartment was eerily quiet. The silence was more terrifying than the whispers. Alex sat in the middle of the living room, the old note and photos spread out on the floor, the weight of the building's history pressing down. Then, the whisper came, louder and clearer than ever before. It wasn't in the room this time. It felt like it was inside Alex's own head. "I know what you want," it said. "You want to leave. You want to be safe." A wave of relief washed over Alex. Maybe it wasn't malevolent. Maybe it understood. "But you can't leave," the voice continued, its tone shifting, becoming cold and possessive. "This is your home now, forever." A floorboard creaked in the hallway. A dark human-shaped shadow fell across the floor, stretching from the empty doorway and slowly creeping towards Alex. Fear gave way to a primal survival instinct. Alex grabbed the box of photos and the note and scrambled for the front door, not daring to look back. The sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps echoed from the hallway, getting closer. The doorknob was cold, stiff, it wouldn't turn. The whisper was a triumphant laugh now, echoing from all around. "I told you," it hissed. "There's no escape." The footsteps stopped right behind Alex. A cold breath touched the back of Alex's neck. Panicked, Alex rattled the door with all their might, screaming for help. Suddenly the lock clicked open. The door swung wide, revealing the brightly lit, blessedly normal apartment building hallway. Without a second's hesitation, Alex burst out of the apartment, not stopping until they were out of the building and on the street, gasping for air under the city lights. Alex never went back. Not for clothes, not for a wallet, not for anything. The landlord was contacted, but he denied everything, claiming Alex had simply broken the lease. The police were called, but when they inspected apartment 14B, they found it completely empty. Not just of Alex's belongings, but of any sign that anyone had lived there for years.